Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Welcome all again!
What's up, everybody? It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. Happy Thursday. Oh, yeah, there's a lot to get to today. There always is. Every day there's something new to talk about, right? So a lot to get to. Coming up in hour number 2, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports will be joining us. We have some breaking news to get to. JD, everything okay? Are your headphones working? Is everything all right? Everything in place? Yes? No?
The plug's not working great.
Oh,
right
wonderful.
now.
Always technical issues. Always technical issues in the studio, but we will figure out a way to get it right. I promise you we will. But I want to introduce our guest in studio. And you know, we've had Danny Tarkanian in studio several times. I love having him in. We always get into a really good, solid debate, and the listeners seem to like it. So I said, well, why don't we get his wife in studio one of these days? Well, guess what? She's agreed to be here. She's in studio. Perfect timing. I know there's been a lot of traffic, but she just made it. Amy Tarkanian joining us. Amy, thanks for joining us. Your headphones not working.
No, they're not.
What a shocker. What a shocker. Something else not working in the studio. I apologize for that. Well, thanks for coming, by the way. How's
I
it
made
going?
it. I'm breathing.
You
I'm
are
alive.
here.
Woo-hoo!
Yes, I am glad you are here. Of course, Amy is the former Nevada State GOP chairman. So, aren't I supposed to say chairwoman?
You know what? I
Doesn't
don't care.
sound right.
It
Okay.
doesn't matter to me. Just the chair.
Well, thank you for
I'm
being
a former chair, and that's why I'm smiling, because I'm
Thank
a former.
you. Fair enough. I
Yeah.
need to learn how to do that more often. Well, thank you for being here in studio.
Oh, thanks for having me.
A lot of
It's an
topics
honor.
I want to get to with you. And like I said, I always have your husband in, so it's an honor to have you here. A lot of breaking news today. I want to know what you think about this. Let's start with, let's hit it heavy right from the get-go. North
A lot
Korea.
of this might be the first time that I hear it, too, because
That's
we're in
okay.
the middle of packing and moving. So
I heard about
I've
that.
been on mom mode.
I understand. Well,
On
I don't
steroids,
understand that.
yeah.
But so North Korea executed Kim Chol, special envoy to the United States. That's the breaking news that just came out. Foreign ministry officials who carried out working-level negotiations for the second U.S.-North Korea summit in February, holding them responsible for its collapse. Now, obviously, Kim Jong-un had to be responsible for this. Anybody would agree with that.
He has full control of everything
Of course,
that goes
right.
on.
We agree on that. I have a feeling I'm going to agree with Amy a little more than her husband, but that's fine.
He's listening, too.
I want to name. I just want to roll off a few things that Donald Trump has said about Kim Jong Un in the last year or so. Called him a very fine man. Okay, evil, murderous dictator. He said he wrote me beautiful letters and we fell in love. That is a quote from Donald Trump.
No, he did not say
yes,
that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did say that. He also called Kim Jong Un, quote, terrific and very honorable.
Okay, the words that he used for describing many situations and several individuals are very few and far between. So just because he uses the word terrific, everything is terrific. An apple's terrific. This ship is terrific.
But you
My
would
day
agree.
is terrific.
But you would agree that the president's words matter, right?
Sure, they matter.
Okay, so when you call an evil, murderous dictator honorable, you would agree that's beyond inappropriate.
He's definitely not honorable. I think what the president was intending to do was just have an open line of communication. And come on, the guy needs his ego stroke. I mean, basically, that's what Kim needs, and he's totally. He wants to be President Trump, okay? Plain and simple. The president is...
I hope it's not the other way around.
No, of course not. No, the president is famous. Outside of being president, he's already famous. He's an entertainer. He is wealthy. He has a beautiful wife and family. And that's everything I think that Kim would love to have.
But you agree this is very serious. Executing Kim Chol, this is a very serious issue
the
here.
guy's a lunatic, plain and simple.
He's a murderer. He's probably murdered hundreds of thousands of people,
Yeah,
or at
he
least
absolutely has.
ordered those killings.
Right.
And I feel like, and I understand what you're saying, but I feel like there has to be a line that you have to draw here, okay? When he kisses the butt of Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin on a world stage, I believe it makes the president look weak. I believe it makes the country look weak.
I disagree.
And I think it's an embarrassment.
I don't agree with the fact that he is using words of praise, but I do think that he needs to maybe alter the verbiage in order to keep that line of communication open. There is a way to compliment somebody without overdoing it. And he's definitely overdoing it, which I do agree with you. It's unnecessary to go that far.
All right. Well, we can, again, this is breaking news, so we can get back to this issue. But I certainly wanted to talk to you about this John McCain ship, right? Where we're learning more and more information now about exactly what took place and what happened. And if you didn't understand what happened, officers are telling that they were told to keep a warship named for the late Senator John McCain out of President Trump's view during the Memorial Day weekend visit to Japan. Let's remember that the president also has disrespected John McCain in the past, even when he was running for president, saying he didn't respect him because he was captured.
But hold off, though. They both were pretty disrespectful. They did not like each other at all.
Not liking each other is okay, but what can you name me one thing that John McCain said about Donald Trump that was anywhere near as bad as what President said about his war service and being a POW?
that was totally inappropriate. I agree with you.
I thought that was another level of disrespect. Okay, we agree on that.
That was
another
terrible.
Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
But it is no secret that both Senator McCain and the president.
Well, a lot of politicians don't like each other. That's normal.
But they really don't like each other.
And that's okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
But you can't disrespect somebody's war service like that. You can't.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. No matter how intolerable of a human being they may be or that you may think they are, I agree with you on that.
So what do you make of this situation now where this commander official wrote in an email to Navy and Air Force officials before Mr. Trump's arrival saying that the USS John McCain needed to be out of sight? And people in the White House are saying, yes, that did happen. And the reason why they did it, the excuse is because they didn't want any issues with the president. They didn't want the president to see it. Obviously, this is what the president wanted. He doesn't want anything to do with John McCain. He doesn't want John McCain's name seen anywhere.
Right, but John, I'm sorry, not John, but the president did not issue that to happen.
According to the White House. According to the White House.
Right. It was some, in fact, General Jack Keane called it a bonehead decision. And I agree with that. Whoever made that call, that was a bonehead decision. That was somebody maybe being fearful of the president, making an off-the-cuff remark.
So you don't think there's any chance that Donald Trump had something to do with this, even though the White House and look, politicians, they lie. I think we all could agree that.
Yeah, here's the problem with this, though, is I have a tough time actually believing that the president did not have anything to do with this. The reason I say this is because, I am a President Trump supporter.
Right.
But because of their banter and their history,
I agree.
and the fact that he has been so vocal in not a very kind fashion at all, it's hard to believe that he did not have.
We are thinking in the same, and you're a Trump supporter, but we're thinking the same way when it comes to this. He's a control freak.
Let's say it weren't true.
Right.
And it's, quote unquote, and I know everyone's tired of this term, but let's say it is fake news and somebody's just wanting to stir the pot.
Right.
It's hard at this point to disbelieve it because of the past.
JD, you're a Trump supporter as well.
I am.
What do you make of this? Do you agree with both what Amy and I are saying, that Trump had to have something to do with this, and it's another just a disgraceful
But even if he didn't,
situation?
it's hard to believe that he didn't just because of what's already taken place.
Exactly. What do you make of this?
I think the fact that they wouldn't. How many generations was that ship? Was it three generations?
Yes, 3 generations.
Of all McCains. Unless you have stone cold smoking gun proof that John McCain was treasonous, why would you do that? It just makes no sense to me.
And you know what? John McCain's daughter was on The View today. She says this makes her grief more unbearable. Keep in mind, it's been less than a year since we lost John McCain.
She said, I think it's been 9 months.
Yeah. And she also later on said
and it never gets easier. I don't care if it's 9 months or 9 years.
Sure.
My husband lost his dad in 2015 and still has very rough moments.
You never want anyone to talk about your deceased dad in the way that Donald Trump has done several times. She also went on to say the president's actions have consequences. I don't know what those consequences are.
I don't either.
But I think we all could agree it's disgraceful. Whether the president was involved or not, I think we all agree he probably had something to do with it. It is utterly disgraceful.
This is one of those situations where he is campaigning more than just appreciating the fact that he's a president of the United States. He's number one. He doesn't have to do these things.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't have to do these things.
Does he have that big of an ego that he just the look of John McCain's
clearly
name?
Is that a rhetorical question? Or is you
Well,
yes.
yeah, I know. Look, you debate Democrats all the time. You've been on MSNBC a lot. You do a good job on MSNBC. You've made a lot of TV appearances. Believe it or not, and he's a Trump supporter.
And I'll
JD.
be on Lou Dobbs tomorrow night.
Oh, good. I like Lou Dobbs. So I'm not a Democrat. I'm not. Here's why. And we'll take some calls on this, by the way, with Amy Tarkanian at 257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. I say it all the time. This is why I despise the man, because of stuff like this. This is why I don't like the man. It usually has nothing to do with policy and usually has everything to do with the way the man talks, the way he treats people, and the way he has lived his life. I think he is disgraceful. I think I'll call him a scumbag. I think he is. I think he's a really bad guy, and I think his whole life he's had a silver spoon in his mouth. People think he's brilliant businessman. I want to see his tax records. Let's see how brilliant of a businessman he is. How much money did he lose in that 10 years? Well, I'm just giving you the reasons why I don't like him. Personally, I think he is a scumbag. And people, don't call the president a scumbag. Look, as a person, I think he's just a bad guy. Is the economy good? Unemployment numbers are down? Sure. But he's a bad guy.
Okay, well, you may think he's a bad guy because he doesn't sugarcoat anything. The guy just rips it off like a bandage and tells it like it is. Just the way he sees it, he calls it out. You may like it, you may not like it. He may be rough. He may, maybe a little too bombastic at times for folks to swallow.
Great word.
But I would much rather have somebody like that who I know exactly what I'm going to get rather than like President Obama, who lied and manipulated the public with a smile constantly. You might have felt good listening to him, but when Donald Trump,
we'll get to Obama, but when Donald Trump campaigns on a lie, like we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it, isn't that exactly what you're referring to? He campaigned on a lie.
No, he didn't campaign on a lie.
Mexico's not paying for the wall.
But he tried to make it happen. He was just unable to do so. His intentions were solid. He just couldn't follow through.
How do you know his intentions were solid? How do you know he's just an idiot and he didn't know what he was talking about?
I think along the way, trying to get to the station, too, and I'm going to have to read more up on it once I leave here, I believe that there's going to be some pretty heavy tariffs now going.
He just announced a tariff today.
Yeah. With Mexico, on Mexico.
7% of any single item. Then
so how many billions of dollars is that? So you believe that because of these tariffs, that will pay for the wall?
And he mentioned for the sole purpose of decreasing illegal immigration.
Which that was also announced, and I happen to save that article. It's the largest group that's ever been taken into custody. Happened recently. 1,036 migrants crossing the border. So, yeah, he's trying. The guy is trying every avenue possible.
Yeah, it would be a lie if he didn't make any conscious effort whatsoever, and he just ran on that that premise.
Well, I don't believe Mexico's going to pay for the wall. I don't believe it's going to happen.
Okay, so they don't pay for the wall. And the end, he still finds someone else to pay for the wall.
And I'm not a Barack Obama defender, but for 5 years he preached Donald Trump that Obama wasn't born in this country. You want to talk about a long lie that he never apologized for. There's a lot of things that he lied about that he never apologized for. And then the grab women.
Maybe he did believe that. I don't know.
Well, here's another reason why I despise the man. The grab women by the P word. If he just apologized and then it was over with, whatever. It was a horrible thing to say. I've never heard anyone say that in the locker room before, but he wasn't the president.
Are you serious?
Hold on. No.
I've even been in locker rooms and I've heard anyone talk like that as a female.
That specifically.
I've heard talks like that, but
not to say grab them by that.
I've
but
also never heard that exact verbatim.
I've never heard that exact. But let's just say you're right, and people talk like all the time, which I hope they don't. He apologizes the next day, and then 2 days later says, you know what? And then he backtracks his apology because of his ego.
That was something that was also mentioned and said years before he was even president.
But why can't he just apologize and then move on? Then he says, I don't think that was my voice.
Because he said it. Why would he apologize?
I said it. I think because he's an egotistical.
I would just admit it and say, you know what, time to move on. Yep, I said it.
But Amy, he didn't do that. That 2 days later, he said it wasn't even. He didn't think it was his voice on the. He knows 100% that was his voice. Here's another example. Okay, David Duke. Okay, he's talked about David Duke in the past. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. He's had many conversations about David Duke. Then when he's running for president.
David Duke just endorsed Joe Biden? He endorsed somebody.
And you know what? He's a racist pig.
But you don't hear about it, do you?
He's a racist pig. But here's why I bring him up. When he was campaigning, he said he didn't know who David Duke was. He's lying. He lies.
Why? How do you know that's
because 4 or 5 years ago he did an interview. No, I'm not assuming. 4 or 5. You think his brain is that gone? He shouldn't be president. 4 or 5 years ago, he didn't.
Everybody knows who David Duke is. Not everybody pays attention to garbage like that.
I agree with you, but what I'm trying to say, Amy, is in several interviews before he ran for president, he spoke about David Duke. He's a liar. Okay.
Well, I didn't hear those interviews. I don't know.
All right. Well, we're joined by Amy Tarkanian in studio. I have a feeling it's going to be a fun hour. The Tarkanians, I know they love me. Former Nevada State GOP chairman. I want to call her chairwoman. It doesn't really matter, though. I don't think it just
I'm
seems...
a former.
Former. Did I say chairman?
Yes,
Former. I made that
former
mistake
chairman.
yesterday. I'm sorry about that.
You said former.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
no, you did.
Okay, 257-5396, the number to call, 702-257-5396. Give us a buzz. Let's start with Kelly. Kelly, you're on with Amy Tarkanian. How are you?
What's up, Kelly?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, Kelly. What's on your mind?
Well, got to call in as many times as I can to defend the greatest president of our time.
Who's
Oh,
that?
I hope. Are you being honest, or is this facetious?
Were you going to say?
I'm being 100% honest.
Were you going to say?
I like Kelly.
Were you going to say Vladimir Putin? Who are you talking about?
Nice.
Oh,
See,
okay,
what you asked for Trump to apologize, when you say something mean, but you don't.
That was being facetious.
apologize.
That was being facetious.
I like
It
Kelly.
wasn't. It
Well,
was
that was very hurtful. My feelings are hurt. I would like an apology.
just like Donald Trump. I'm going to say I don't think that was my voice on the
I think
radio.
that's valid, Kelly. And Kelly's one of our staunch Trump supporters.
So
that
Kelly,
calls in.
what you got for us? Go ahead, because I got a lot of people on hold.
I was on Twitter last night when that whole thing broke, with Meghan McCain crying like a baby because.
Well, hold on a second. Well, hold Kelly.
on,
No. Excuse me, crying like a baby. What is wrong with you? She lost her father. Okay.
I lost my father.
And you know what? If you were crying today, if you said you lost your dad 50 years ago, and I wouldn't call you a crybaby. I'd say I'm so sorry for your loss. Why do you start the conversation by saying that? Why would you call her a crybaby? She lost her father, a war hero.
She cries all the darn time. Every picture of her on the internet.
Well, you don't have a heart like Donald Trump. What a shocker. Go ahead. Amy's looking at me like, what did I get myself into coming into this show?
I know,
Go ahead.
right?
He's not being nice to you, Kelly. I'm sorry. I feel your pain.
Amy.
Go ahead, Kelly. Finish it.
As a Trump supporter, I have thick skin.
There we go.
I'm sure you do. Go ahead.
But look, first off, you already know this, but the ship wasn't even named after John McCain. That was her first.
It doesn't matter. That is academic to the discussion. Why are you bringing that up? That is academic.
Okay. Can I at least get 3 sentences in?
If you can say something that makes sense, please go ahead.
Oh, see, that's rude. That's hurtful. I demand an apology.
I'm not the president of the United States. Go ahead.
You are to me.
There's no Mueller, there's no Mueller report for Brian Shapiro. Kelly, go ahead. Go ahead.
You know of.
Go ahead.
But look, what was it? The Office of Information for the Navy chimed in last night, and they're like, first off, the picture of the ship with the tarp over the name of the ship, they were like, that's a picture that occurred before Trump even showed up.
Well,
Kelly,
they said in the New York Times too that it was it's going to be under construction.
The White
Yeah,
House.
the New York Times.
The White House is
the New York
confirming.
Times, they're not the most reputable paper anyway.
Okay, what about the White House? Are they reputable? Because the White House is confirming. They're saying that Trump had nothing to do with it, but they are confirming that these discussions took place. So what are you talking about, with all due respect?
Well, they're saying Trump didn't have anything to do with it.
And we just discussed that for 10 minutes. I said that to open, even though I don't believe
I'm
it.
Sorry, I was at the dispensary getting some drugs.
All right. Listen, Kelly, Kelly, I love you. I always like it when you call in, okay? Call back anytime. We got to get to some other callers. 257-5396 is the number to call.
She just said she's at the dispensary.
Well, that's okay.
She said, I'm sorry, I was at the dispensary getting some drugs.
Enjoy those
That's
edibles.
awesome.
Enjoy
She's
those
honest.
edibles.
I appreciate your honesty,
Yes.
Kelly.
257-5396. We're here with Amy Tarkanian. Let's go to Elle. Elle, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Amy, hi. This is refreshing. After listening to your husband so many times, you come in because you are reasonable. However,
Oh no!
Why?
Well, thank you. He's listening though.
well, good. But no, you know why I think the president, or at least why I know he knew about this thing. When he spoke on it, he said, "Well, while it was well-meaning."
Yeah,
why would you
well-meaning,
say
he
that?
calls it. That is, I am so glad you brought that up. I want to ask him.
Oh,
Well,
my
I
God,
think
this
Amy
man
agrees with
drives
us on
me
this.
crazy.
I think
You
that is
cannot
such.
avoid him.
That is such a good point you just brought up. He said the people who asked John McCain's name to be put, covered up, he called that well-meaning, Amy. Can you believe that?
Yeah, no, that wasn't necessary. You know what's so great is, first of all, let me go back to your compliment. I appreciate the fact that you enjoy hearing me. Come on. But you know what's so wonderful is my husband and I, we make a really good team. So there's a lot of policies that I don't quite grasp fully, and I will sit down and discuss those with him. So then that way I can have a better understanding before I do come on to shows
Right.
such as yours.
Mhm.
And so actually, I just wanted to give my husband a really nice shout out, because without him,
that's very fair. Look,
Yes.
he's very gracious when he comes in here. He
Yes.
doesn't like to be interrupted. This is okay. But
well, we definitely have different personalities, and we definitely approach things in a much different fashion. But he is so incredibly smart and well versed in policy.
The important thing is that he's a good father and a good husband, and
Yes.
that's what I care about more than anything. I disagree on a lot of his politics. We get into it all the time, but I always appreciate it when he comes in.
And we also like Little Jerry.
Yes, of course.
Everyone loves Little
And
Jerry.
he knows it's not personal. I know it's not personal. But when somebody calls into the show and they say something stupid, I'm going to call them an idiot. JD is. What's the over under on how many times I do that, JD, per show? Maybe 2 or 3 times.
Per show?
Yeah.
I would say it's probably 6.
That high?
I would say.
Well,
it's probably
I don't even know if people realize, or maybe they do, and they're just doing it intentionally to be mean. But when they compliment me, but then backhanded, do a backhanded comment
I get that
then
all the
towards
time.
my husband, I don't really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it goes the other way around, too. I mean, not everyone likes me, too.
You guys just
so-
have different styles.
We
and that's
do.
fine. Look, I
We
had
do.
I had Mark Levin on the show, and then we had a bunch of people that said, hey, I almost never agree with you, but I appreciate the fact that you had Mark Levin on. So that's cool. Let's take another call. Let's go to Chris. Chris, what's up?
Brian, JD, Amy, it's good to talk to you.
Wow.
And you just brought up, of course, the John McCain thing, and you kind of stole a little bit of my thunder, but not all of it yet. He did talk today about his thoughts on what took place, and he was very complimentary to whoever it was that was involved in that. So we need to point that out. So you guys, sparse in words about, whether or not Trump was involved or who did it in the administration. It doesn't really matter, okay? Because the fact of the matter is the President of the United States today, once again, did not take the high road. Think about this, okay? Any normal president, what would we expect him to do? What would we expect his response to be if this type of episode took place in Japan? I'll tell you what we'd expect. We'd expect the president to be sympathetic to John McCain, to the McCain family. We'd expect him to apologize and say this is not something that was intended on the part of my administration, and leave it at that.
Let's let Amy.
Taking the high road.
Hang on,
and
Chris.
He did not do it.
Hang
And
on the
it's
line.
disgusting.
Hang on the line, Chris. Let's let Amy respond to that. Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah.
Well, no, he did not. He did not take the high road. He should have just left it alone. In fact, then he even took it a step further and then continued to attack his past votes. Now, I'm going to separate this conversation from what I'm about to say next. I think if he is going to attack Senator McCain still from this point further, it needs to be solely on the votes that he took that maybe are hurting us today.
Yes.
Okay, not his character, not his daughter, not his wife, but solely on the votes that he took.
Chris,
Plain and
go ahead.
simple.
You know as well as all of us that he doesn't have the wherewithal. He doesn't have the intellect to be able to do that. He's not capable of it. That's the fact of the matter. And you guys were talking about Meghan McCain and what she meant by what she said today. What she was talking about is repercussions that people that work on that ship and people in the military in general could face when you have a president of the United States that goes on national TV and continues to disparage, a war hero who's passed away, and continues to, and talks in glowing terms about an episode like this that took place overseas. I mean,
what are the repercussions of somebody who works on that ship just because it's named McCain? I mean, I don't understand what happens to those people.
Well, when the President of the United States talks, if the President of the United States does not want to have any people around that work on that ship that have John McCain on their forehead, right, or that's wearing a hat that says John McCain around him, there's the.
It sets a
logical
dangerous
intention.
precedence, I think. I think that's what Chris is trying to say.
It's a lack of appreciation for those people that are on that ship and that work for that ship.
I agree.
That's what it is.
I agree.
I just don't understand what is being accomplished.
No, he's an egomaniac, and he shows disrespect towards anyone that he wants to be.
He's a very, very seasoned businessman.
Chris, thanks for the call, by the way.
Intelligent businessmen make decisions for good reasons. What is a good reason here? What is it doing? How is it helping anything?
We all agree on that.
And so it's totally counterproductive.
I agree. Let's go. I agree. 100%. We're all in agreement on that. Let's go to Tom. Tom, what's up?
Hello, guys.
What's up, Tom?
Hey, Tom.
Thank you. What's on your mind?
I just like to say that there's a whole lot of Trump bashing going on here, and at the same time, holding John McCain up as something that he was not.
Okay, well,
He
if you
was-
want to...
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Are you kidding me? We're bashing...
I was a combat Marine in Vietnam
Okay,
also,
thank
but
you
I'm
for your
telling
service, but
he
how can
made
you...
the most of it when he came back, and he never did anything but pad his
So
own
you are
pillow.
okay with... Excuse me. So you, with all due respect, and I appreciate your service, but you are okay with Donald Trump wanting to cover a John McCain, the name on a ship, and you call that Trump bashing, but yet you want to call into this show and then go after John McCain. Is that the kind of character that you have, sir, with all due respect?
Listen.
No, don't tell me to listen. You sound like a fool. You sound like a fool.
Do some tough things. Does Donald Trump do everything right? No.
How dare you call in and defend Donald Trump and go after John McCain? I'm cutting you off because you sound like an idiot. That's why I'm cutting you off. Goodbye. I'm not going to let anyone call into... If you don't like John McCain for his policies, that's fine. But you are not going to call into the show and say we're bashing Trump and then go after McCain. You sound like a fool.
Hey, Tom, great call.
257-5396. Let's go to Karen. Karen, what's up?
Hi, I'm new to Las Vegas. Amy, I'm a huge fan. I see you on Lou Dobbs.
Oh, thank you. Welcome to Vegas.
Thank you. And I didn't bring my crummy California voting habits with me either.
Karen, I hate to... I only have about 30 seconds, so go ahead.
I wanted to know how to get involved to help reelect our president. I don't see any traction for Republicans. Where do we go to help?
If you're on Twitter, why don't you follow me and then I can private message you? Okay, go to at Mrs. T106.
Is there a Facebook page? Because I don't.
I am on Facebook. Just look up Amy Tarkanian, and then we'll private
Karen,
message each other.
Karen, I only got about 15 seconds. Do you have any issue? Karen, do you have... Okay. All right, Karen, I'll let you go. I don't want to ask you a question and then have to cut you off. Thank you. I wanted to ask her if she, all the stuff we're talking about, she says, how do we reelect Donald Trump? And that's fine. If she wants to, that's fine. But I wanted to figure out if at least she had an issue with this. I know you do. I know JD does. The last guy who called in, I appreciate his service. For the life of me, how can you attack John McCain and say that we're attacking Donald Trump? Does that make any... It makes no sense to me at all. Anyway, we're in studio with Amy Tarkanian. We're going to take a quick break. Be back right after this. We'll take some more calls at 257-5396. I do want to get to the abortion issue as well. We will get to that when we come back. You are listening to The Vegas Take. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, joined in studio by Amy Tarkanian, the former Nevada State GOP chairman. So honored to have her here as well, getting a perspective. We were just talking about... I said I was not really an Obama supporter per se, and I didn't think he was a great president for a lot of different reasons, and I thought the race relations probably his worst fault. But with that being said, the reason why I respect Barack Obama more than Donald Trump, I'll give you several reasons why. Number one, he wasn't fed a spoon in his mouth. He worked hard to get to where he was. Nobody gave him a $400 million company. $400 billion, I'm sorry. Is that what it was? No, $400 million.
I mean, his grandma did own a bank.
He was raised by a mom. And he worked hard to get to where he was. I think we all could agree he's an extremely intelligent person, and he's a good husband and a good father.
He's definitely a charismatic person.
He's charismatic. He's a very well-spoken guy.
Yeah.
And good father, good husband. Those are things that I think are important. Okay. I'm sorry, but I don't think Donald Trump's a good husband. Don't think he's very good father either.
Well, the difference is Trump.
I disagree with that, actually.
Trump's a brilliant marketer, and Obama was a brilliant orator.
Ooh, I agree with that.
Yeah, I guess that's fair, but and I gave you the reasons why I dislike Donald Trump.
I have watched the president interact with his wife and with his children, not on television. I've watched them in person, and they have the utmost respect for their father and for the husband. Now, it may not come across as picture perfect, like the Obamas, but the media also did a great job painting that picture for them. And they try to trash the current president and their family at every opportunity that they can get.
Well, when you say Don Jr. is the guy that
I haven't seen.
I love Don Jr.
I haven't seen any Trumps.
Oh my gosh, I love him.
High as a kite at Coachella.
What has Don Jr. accomplished in his career? What has he done?
I'm telling you, just from what I know of him personally, he is a hardworking, sharp individual.
Okay, but if he's hardworking, I'm asking you, what has he accomplished in his life? Besides being hand-fed a lot of money by his father.
I honestly, I don't have that answer. I have not looked into what he does.
Well, very similar to Jared Kushner. They have a lot in common, Jared Kushner and Don Jr. They were both born into a lot of money. Jared Kushner.
So are you jealous? I mean,
No.
I would have loved that.
No, I would have loved that too, but guess what? They didn't do anything with it. Jared Kushner has lost enormous amounts of money in a couple investments.
But that's
Same
what
thing with
happens
Don
when you
Jr.
do business.
But he hasn't done anything
You
positive
lose
in
and
his
you
life.
gain. You lose and you
but
gain.
they haven't gained. That's what I'm trying to say. Don Jr. has done nothing in his life that you could say, wow, what a phenomenal accomplishment. That's why I don't respect him. Barack Obama had nothing growing up, and I mean nothing. And he turned it into something, and he became the president of the United States. This has nothing to do with politics. I'm just telling you why I respect Barack Obama a lot more than Donald Trump, who
So you'd much rather have a president who's come from nothing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. I'd rather have a Mark Cuban as our president, who started with nothing. He had $200 in his pocket.
That's a great story, but that doesn't mean that that's still the best, most qualified person in the end.
You think Donald Trump is the most qualified person to be president?
Definitely better than Hillary Clinton.
Okay, well, I'm not a Hillary Clinton supporter either, but I think if you're going to talk about experience...
And obviously he beat 17 experienced Republicans.
Here's why I don't look at it like that, because I believe if you had Kim Kardashian up there, she'd have a chance of winning because she has so many followers, and we're in the world of celebrity. And I think that's why Donald Trump won, because he's so brash and outspoken and because he was a celebrity. It's certainly not because of his experience. He had no experience when it came to politics.
I think also it had to do, yes, with his brashness and also being a celebrity didn't hurt. Because name recognition is important. I mean, why do you think Joe Biden is up double digits? It's because people already know who he is. Nobody knows who Pete Buttigieg or Amy Klobuchar. You know, your average.
And their names are really hard to say.
Yes, right.
All right. Well, why don't we take a couple more calls here at 257-5396. Again, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Jack, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, I got one question for you guys. You sit there and you disrespect the office of the presidency and attack the personality and the character of the president. However, in return, you get beside yourself and your panties in a bunch.
Okay, number one, I'm not. Okay. How many?
Brian, are you wearing panties?
How many? No, I'm not.
That's
I wish
disturbing.
I was. First of all, Jack, I find it.
Not.
Okay. Are you going to listen now, Jack? Thank you. First of all, well, the reason. Okay, let me know when you'll let me speak. Thank you. Are you done with your pantyhose comments and your smart-ass remarks? Thank you. I appreciate that, Jack.
Grow up.
So, okay, let me know when you're done. Do you want to call me more names or do you want to have a discussion? Thank you, Jack. Okay, I'll take silence as a yes. Okay, so first of all, I went after, at the start of this show, and not even going after, the fact that Donald Trump has disrespected a war hero, okay? That's not disrespecting the president. It's disrespecting someone who is a war hero, and we are criticizing the president for that and this story about this ship. That's what we talked about to start the show. And then I came up with a number of different reasons why I dislike the man. And almost every single one of those reasons are the way he treats other people. And that's why I dislike him. So explain to me how that is attacking the president and going after the president and disrespecting the office. But yet you don't have a problem with the way he's treated John McCain. I haven't heard you talk about that. Please explain that unless your pantyhose are in a bind.
You need to answer my question.
I just did answer your question, pantyhose. I just did answer your question. Answer mine.
See, you're a liberal piece of shit.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See, that's what people do. That's what people do. That's what this idiot Jack does. He can't have a debate. I gave him a chance, even though he called me names, Amy, to start the conversation.
Yes.
Right? I didn't. Okay. He called me names.
As soon as it becomes emotional,
he can't.
Then you lose.
He doesn't have the intellect to be able to have a real debate. And that is why Jack, he's an imbecile. That's what he is. I gave him a chance. I tried to explain to him. You tell me, Amy. And I promise I won't call any names. I promise.
Lovely.
No. Do you find it, the conversation we're having, do you feel like I'm bashing the office and the presidency?
Not the office. No, you just don't agree with the man who's in the office.
Of course not. Yeah.
And that's valid. That's your feelings, your thoughts, your perceptions on him.
I just don't think he's a good guy.
And I disagree.
Yeah.
You know, once again, I would much rather have somebody that I know exactly what I'm getting, who tells it like it is, who is brutally honest, who rips it off like a bandage and doesn't sugarcoat and BS it. And lie to me with a smile, like President Obama did.
But getting, like you said, getting what you know you're going to get. This was a man that was pro-choice for most of his life. So how did you know that he would be anti-abortion and pro-life?
He's still pro-choice in the fact of rape, incest, or life of the mother. So, I mean, there's still a fine line right there, and we knew that coming into it. I mean, you've got Hillary Clinton and you've got a number of other Democrat candidates who also flipped over eventually with LGBTQ issues in rights.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's been a number of politicians who have evolved over time.
Yeah.
But no, this president, while yes, he may be quote unquote pro-life, to some pro-lifers, he's still considered pro-choice because of those other areas. Now it's Vice President Pence who is 100% pro-life.
Let's talk about Mike Pence for a second. I'm so glad you brought him up. I would imagine you are, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're not for gay marriage, right? You're against it.
No, I'm actually, I have a sister who is married to her partner, whose name ironically is Amy. I also have a niece who's married to her partner.
So you're okay with that?
It's their choice. My whole thought on this is government should not have a say.
I agree.
It should be a contractual agreement between two consenting adults, plain and simple.
So Mike Pence supported a law that was almost went into effect that would have put homosexuals into conversion therapy. Pence wanted to push that forward, okay? Mike Pence, his wife, works at a school where not only homosexuals are not allowed to go to school there, but you can't even work there if you're homosexual.
It's a private school.
And I understand that. So here's the question I always bring up.
It's not illegal.
And I understand that. So I bring up this hypothetical. Let's hope this doesn't happen.
Do I agree with it? No. Would I send my kids there? No. But that's my choice.
Right. What if David Duke comes to Las Vegas?
Oh, good Lord, David again.
Well, but I think this is an important question.
Okay.
Or it could be anybody from the KKK, any of those bastards from the KKK. And they come in here and they say, look, I want to open up a private school. African Americans can't go to school here. Would you give the same?
Why would you want to go there then? Why would you even want to push to go there?
I understand. Of course not. But the point I'm trying to make is it shouldn't be in our society. We shouldn't allow discrimination, whether it's private or not.
That is not allowed in our society.
What do you mean? Yes, it is.
That would be illegal.
No, it wouldn't be. No, it wouldn't.
That school would not.
Where? Does that exist? I don't even know that exists.
I'm just giving a hypothetical.
If that were illegal, it would exist. In one of these other states, and it doesn't exist because it is illegal.
But I'm just giving a hypothetical. What is the difference between somebody doing that and somebody opening up a school saying if you're gay, you can't go to school here? What's the difference? They're both.
I think it's also, correct me if I'm wrong, is it also a religious school? I mean, I'm a born-again Christian, but in the end, I believe it's going to be between you and God, okay, on the way that you decide to live your life. I am not here to tell you how to live it.
I guess I'm in a lot of trouble then.
I'm not here to tell you how to live it, but there are religions that it's black and white. I mean, there's no gray area in that subject. So why is it that your fellow
Republicans in Alabama...
My fellow...
Well, you're a Republican.
Yes.
Okay. There are plenty of Republicans in Alabama. They push these ridiculous abortion laws, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life. And by the way, I agree...
Which Trump vehemently disagreed with, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. He actually came out and he said... He's in favor of abortion for rape, incest, and life of the mother.
You don't realize this about Donald Trump, but he's really, really smart. He never goes totally unreasonable.
Okay, but I'm not bringing up.
I agree, but
I'm not bringing up Donald Trump when it comes to this. I didn't. If you notice, I didn't mention Donald Trump. What do you think of these nut jobs in Alabama that are forcing women that are raped or victims of incest to have the child? I think it is utterly disgusting.
That's a tough subject. It really is because. We had the whole Me Too movement that brought this topic to life. You know, the fact of sexual harassment, of being violated, of rape happening more often than we thought. Most women that I know, including myself, have been victims to some degree of the Me Too movement at some point in their life. I honestly don't know what I would do if I were raped and found that I were pregnant. I think that I would probably have a tougher time knowing that I had aborted a child and not kept it, rather than...
But that's a personal decision that I would never take away from you, and you would have the right, and the only person that should have that right to make that decision.
But it's a life.
Or a group of maybe 6 males and 6 females, not 12 Caucasian males in Alabama making that decision for somebody.
Yeah, but that's who they voted for. So they're the ones who are making the legislation. So whose fault is that?
Well, I think there's a lot of dumb people in Alabama. That's just my personal opinion. I think the average IQ in Alabama is very low.
I mean, I think it would be extremely, extremely devastating to find out that I were carrying a child of a rapist. Okay, it would be. But I think in the end, I would feel even more horrible knowing that I ended an innocent life.
Okay, well, again, we're talking about the definition of life, and your definition, I believe, is a little bit different than mine. But again, I would not take that right away from you.
Did you see that now the youngest baby to survive is at 23 weeks and 3 days, I believe it was. It was
I think there needs to
8.6 ounces the baby was.
And I think at 4 or 5 months there needs to be, I hate to use the term cutoff, but yes, I do believe that there should be, after 4 or 5 months, you should not be allowed to have an abortion unless there are health issues with the mother, which I would totally understand. I think we need to have some logical, I'm not for late-term abortion. I think women who have gotten 10 abortions that use abortions as birth control are disgusting.
Yeah.
I think there should be a number on it.
But hold on though. That's your thought.
It's my opinion.
Your opinion.
That's my opinion on the issue. Yes.
Well, I agree with you on that. I mean, you can take that to, maybe I think it's disgusting that you even had an abortion in your 10th week, in your 7th week. It's still, what makes that any different? Life is life at 10 weeks or
right. But every
at
person's
5 months.
Right, but every person's belief is different. Every person's religion seems to be different. And I don't want to take your opinion
I don't know
away.
any religion that is okay with abortion.
I don't know any woman
Maybe
that is,
unless you're a Satanist.
I don't know any woman that is quote unquote okay with it, and it's a
I
it's
do
a horrible.
know some women who are okay with it.
Here's what I mean by that. Here's what I mean by that. I don't know any woman that welcomes it and is happy to have an abortion.
No,
okay?
most of the women that I know, unfortunately, that have had the unfortunate choice of having an abortion.
Yeah,
they live with that regret still today.
That's what I meant. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes.
It's a very difficult private decision.
I do know a couple of girls who have had multiple, and they use that as birth control,
and that's
which
disgusting.
is disgusting.
And that's disgusting. We agree. And those are the type of people that we need. That's it. That's it. And I'm with you on that. Those women are disgusting.
Why not close up shop?
Yes, those women are disgusting.
So much easier.
We agree on that. See, I knew I would agree with most of the stuff I talked about with Amy.
I just don't understand why the law isn't consistent with a double murder. When someone is murdered and they're pregnant and the baby is 4 months or 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 16 weeks or 20, whatever that number is, I feel like that number should be consistent with everything else.
Scott Peterson was charged with.
She was 8 months pregnant, though.
Right. Well, that's a discussion that I think we all need to have.
Yeah, but the child wasn't out of the womb, so you're right on that.
Yeah. Right.
Why does it matter? 8 weeks, 8 days, 8 months?
Well,
you're still charged.
I think there's a fine line between a legal abortion and somebody that decides to kill their wife and their unborn baby.
I don't know what that timeline is when you are still charged.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if it's
maybe
6
there's
weeks
an attorney,
or what how they figured that out.
Maybe there's an attorney that can call up right now and tell us, because I'd love to hear from them. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. Talking about abortion. We're talking about Donald Trump wanting to cover up, or at least we believe he was a part of the cover-up of John McCain's name on this warship. 257-5396. We're here with Amy Tarkanian. Let's go to Neil. Neil, what's up?
Brian, how's it going?
Doing good, my man. What's up?
All right, listen, buckle up your chin strap.
Okay, it's buckled up. Go ahead.
I'm saying that metaphorically, of course.
Okay. Well, I'm wearing a chin strap. Go ahead.
About Donald Trump and Mueller.
Yes.
He totally discredited himself.
Who did? Mueller?
Now, just let me make a comment, and then you could go on.
No, I know, but I didn't understand what you said. I'll let you finish. But you're saying Mueller discredited himself? Amy,
Absolutely.
Is that what he said? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, you're dealing with people from the intelligence community. These guys, they are trained to lie. If you can believe anything they say, I could sell you a bridge in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, so what did he say that you thought he lied about?
He had a written statement.
Yes.
Okay, you know how designed that written statement is, okay? Totally discredited himself.
What did he say, though? Be specific. You have to be specific with me. What did he say that you think he intentionally lied and discredited himself?
All right, well, when you talk about Russian interference, I totally reject it.
Our CIA, our own intelligence disagrees with you, and I think Amy disagrees with you as well. Do you?
Well, let me.
They actually said that Russia did attempt.
Right.
Yeah.
So is Amy trained to lie too, or I mean, what's going?
Amy, I didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that?
They did find that Russia did attempt to interject themselves into our election process.
Where's your evidence? Is what I'm going to ask you.
They've actually reported that. It's all over the place. You can Google it. It's all over the place. Now, but the area, though, the president was not involved in it. They found that he did not cooperate with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well,
so that's the difference.
I'm going further. I'm rejecting the whole concept of Russian interference.
Okay. Well, that's your opinion, but you have no basis to say that.
He said there were some military officers what do you have, like maybe 10 military in a country of 145 million people?
10 military of what? What are you talking? I don't even know what you're saying.
About Russian interference. He said there were Russian military.
How about our CIA? How about that? How about all of our intelligence?
Our election.
How about all of our intelligence? How about that? Let's just throw it all away because Neil thinks
everything they
I
say.
understand that, and I understand that, and I reject every single word you've said in this phone call. I reject every single word you've said in this phone call. You've made absolutely no sense. You're asking us for proof? The CIA. Everyone agrees that Russia interfered in the election, except for Neil. Let's go to Marge. Marge, what's going on?
Hey, Marge.
Hi there. Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Fine. I wanted to call attention to Louisiana today. The governor also put in the heartbeat rule as far as abortion is concerned. He's Democratic, and did not make the exception for either rape or incest. So here we go again. So it just seems like there's a number, particularly the southern states, that are doing this. And I guess my question to Amy is, do you think that all of this is going to force it up to the Supreme Court to review the Roe versus Wade question again?
I do believe that's their intent, was to take it as far as they could possibly, so then that way it would force a discussion with the Supreme Court. Yes, I do.
Marge, always good to hear from you. We appreciate the call. Sorry I had to cut you off there. We got to take a break. Would you like to stay for one more segment, Amy? Are you able to do that? Is it too late for you?
I have a huge pile of clothes to pack, but I will go ahead and stick around.
I appreciate that. It's a great conversation, and we're glad you're here. Thank you so much. We'll make it a shorter segment so you can get out of here. I know you got a lot on your plate. We love it when you come in, and when your husband comes in, it's fantastic as well. Okay, we're here with Amy Tarkanian. We're going to take a quick break. We'll take some more of your calls at 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Next, I'm going to ask Amy, is there anyone in the Democratic Party that she likes or she would support for president? We'll talk to her about that when we come back. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Very glad to have Amy Tarkanian in studio as well, the former Nevada State GOP chairman. I have forced her to stay for another 20 minutes. Luckily she has obliged.
I'm tied to this chair. Help me.
We're very happy that you decided to come in. We're having a good time, and we're taking some phone calls at 257-5396. There's a couple issues I want to get into, the media and some candidates that maybe you like, even though they might be in the Democratic Party. And we're also taking some phone calls at 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. Why don't we go to Gail, who's been waiting on hold. Gail, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
You're welcome. I just have a few quick cases to mention very quickly. One is that the Bible supports the life of the mother over the unborn. There was a girl who lived in this town, Las Vegas, and her husband didn't believe in abortion, so he was very holier than thou, even though she had a staph infection and pneumonia. Mm-hmm. She went ahead with the pregnancy. Well, she died. She dropped dead, and she was only 30 years old.
That is horrible.
So
that is a good point. Gail, can I just say?
She's dead and buried, I guess, here in Vegas. She was my friend's daughter.
I'm so sorry.
Married daughter. Then in New York, there was a case of a 14-year-old girl was violently raped in an alleyway, and she went ahead with the pregnancy, which kind of messed up her life. She was only 14 years old, and the baby was given away, named Michael Olds, and he became a murderer, and he murdered somebody and went to prison for many years. When he got out, he murdered 2 other people.
Okay, so Gail, let me. Gail, let me.
Was the result
okay, Gail,
of a one-night stand of an unwed mother.
Okay, Gail, hang on. Gail.
One more thing: the guy Nicholas Cruz, who killed 17 people
in
the Florida high school, he was the result of a one-night stand by this Hispanic mother. But
so
the
Gail
Bible supports the life of the mother first.
I understand. The first.
I think we're all in favor.
Gail, I
of
want
life
you to
for the
call in
mother.
at least 4 times a week from now on.
Okay, Gail, listen here. The first thing you mentioned, right, about the Bible, I think that's important, right? You need to support the mother over the unborn child.
Rights,
Yes, I agree with that, Gail. But the second thing you mentioned, now listen, I am pro-choice. Okay, I am not for pro-late-term abortion. I think women need to do it responsibly.
Neither am I.
But with that being said, let's just say hypothetically, if we forced every 13 or 14-year-old girl to have a rape baby, which would be horrible, but let's just say we did, I'm not about to sit here and say that every single one of those babies is going to become a murderer if they're adopted. I think that would be an outrageous statement.
Right.
In
Anyway,
fact,
she
it's
had
complete
the baby
opposite.
the rest of her life. And I have a cousin in Long Island who had her tubes tied, but the doctor said to her, if the operation ever fails in the future,
Yes.
she had to have one child,
Let's
but he said if it ever fails in the future,
Yes.
pregnancy,
Okay.
You're going to die during the pregnancy.
All right, Gail, I gotta get to some other callers, but I want Amy to respond. I appreciate the phone call. Do you agree with me on that one? I agree with the first thing she said, but the second thing,
the first thing.
She
second
started
thing,
off so good.
Yeah,
but-
no, the second one, no, I totally disagree with the second part. You can actually look up online. It's called afterabortion.org, and there's a story on there. It's called Victims and Victors, and they're actually stories of people who were conceived because of rape. And they're successful stories, and their stories.
I don't doubt that at all.
Right.
I don't doubt that at all.
It's a terrible, horrible situation, but there are success stories, and there are people who are grateful that their mothers decided to keep them,
All I know is
despite the atrocious
if I
event.
had a daughter, which I don't, but if I did, and she was brutally raped, I would want it to be her decision. Now, I would probably want her to have an abortion because, every time I see that child, I'm going to think about the horrible thing that happened to my daughter. But with that being said, if she wants to have the child, I would leave it in her hands because it's her body. If she said she wanted an abortion, I would absolutely allow that, and I wouldn't let any religion or religious beliefs get in the way of that.
It's her body, but it's also the baby's body who was innocent. So I have another good girlfriend who ended up pregnant and didn't stay with the father, and she carried the child and then gave it up for adoption. And that child's now in the home of very, very loving parents.
And I see
she
nothing
doesn't
wrong with
regret
that. I see nothing wrong with that. But
and then she ended up getting pregnant with another man, and she, for some reason, decided to keep that one. But yet she still didn't stay with that father. So I don't know why she chose the one over the other, but yet she still chose life in the end.
I have a real big issue with what Louisiana just did. There's a lot of poverty in Louisiana. And you're telling me that a 16 or 17-year-old girl that gets raped or she's in an incestual situation and is forced to have a child isn't going to need government assistance?
Of course they are. It doesn't make any sense.
So why is the ultra-conservative right?
It's a good point.
Pushing, which is very, very anti-government assistance and and lack of government intrusion, kind of hands off. Why do they?
They're not anti-government assistance. It's just to the degree where you don't have it for your entire life.
Nobody
that you
wants.
are better equipped to learn how to get off of the assistance. But there's nothing wrong with needing assistance.
And I agree, but you can't. I don't think you can have it both ways by taking away abortion.
I think I understand what you're saying.
And being not overly enthusiastic about government assistance.
I think I understand what you're saying. First of all, let's talk about unemployment benefits. There's no reasonable person on the planet that thinks you should go on unemployment the rest of your life if you lose your job. However, I don't think a year and a half is asking too much. And it was Republicans that cut unemployment benefits down to, I believe, it's 6 months in this state now. I believe unemployment benefits are around 6 months. They used to be double and triple that.
No, I think it was extended. Actually, it was cut down. And then, if I recall, when Senator Heller was in office, he got some flack for that from the Republicans for extending it.
But why?
So it's been extended.
Okay, it is the majority of Republicans that have tried to cut unemployment. It is the majority of Republicans.
I think it's just the length. It's because they want to make sure that you're actually working towards the goal.
What about food stamps? Republicans are the ones that are trying. I mean, they called Barack Obama the food stamp president.
Because it was at an all-time high. Instead of allowing people to go and try to better themselves and make more, they were stuck in a trap, in a government trap, so to speak, where if you made too much, then they would take it away from you. So why would you want to go and work that much harder?
It was bordering on socialism.
There's always a small percentage that are going to try to exploit the system. I get that. But when it comes to people...
Not everybody, of course. I understand. I want to go ahead and...
Sure, of course. There's a lot of people. But when you talk to a lot of Republicans that I talk to that are pro-life, it's many of those same people that are trying to cut benefits.
Saying kill the child to save money for
the
government?
When you're talking about I don't even want to use the term baby, okay? But when
what do you call
an
it
embryo,
then when you go, look, you're pregnant with
an embryo,
an embryo.
Well,
how cute!
If it's before 5 or 4 months, okay, I don't believe that you're killing a life. I don't believe that.
So when you go get the sonogram, you go, oh, look at that blob. That's great.
Well, I mean, there's a heartbeat there, but I don't believe it is a fully functional brain, and I don't believe a fetus inside the woman.
No, but the main organs are already functioning. So, I mean, you don't call it a baby? What do you call it then?
And not until about 4 or 5 months.
So
where
when you have a baby shower, you can't have a baby shower, so you say, oh, it's my embryo shower. It's my blob shower.
Well, as George
Come celebrate my blob, everyone.
As George Carlin once said, if you have 2 kids, many women even will say, well, I have 2 kids and I have 1 on the way. Why don't you just say you have 3 kids then?
Because you just aren't holding it in your arms. You're holding it in your belly.
So you believe that at conception, that's a child?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what else is it? I mean, it's not indigestion.
It's an
not
organism
gas,
at that point. It's not a human being.
Oh, it's definitely the beginnings of the human being.
But it's not a human being yet.
But what is it then the beginnings of? It's not the beginnings of a plant.
You don't have a functional brain. You don't have a functional brain. You don't have a heartbeat. I can't tell you that.
So when you take a seed and you plant it in the ground, you don't go, oh, that's going to be a plant. That's the beginnings of a plant. That's just what?
I can't compare a plant to an embryo. Those are 2 completely different things.
No, it's not, because life is life. I mean, you have the beginnings of life and you have the ends of life. It doesn't matter if you look at things in the solar system, things in the ground, things inside my body. It's life. There's a beginning to life and there's an end to life.
But you do understand that every situation is different, right? Every situation when a woman becomes pregnant is a different situation. I'm glad. How? Well, besides the rape and incest situations, those are very different than other situations.
But I'm talking about once you're pregnant. I'm not
Well,
talking
let's
about
just
how
say
you
you're a
got pregnant.
15 or 14-year-old girl and you're in a horrible family situation. You're maybe being raised by a mother or a grandparent. You have absolutely no money. Your grandparents are already on welfare.
Sure.
And it's a situation where between the grandparents and the young girl, they don't want to adopt that baby.
And do you know what? There are places that actually exist that help people like that, and there's one here in town, and unfortunately it's privately funded. So there's only 2 homes. They don't get the assistance like Planned Parenthood does. They don't get the millions pumped into them, unfortunately. But there's a home called Living Grace Homes where they take in young mothers, I'm talking really young, in their teens, who either the family wants nothing to do with them, they've kicked them out of the house, they've shipped them halfway across the country because they don't even want to look at them anymore. They're so disgusted that their daughter is pregnant for whatever reason. Or the boyfriend is abusive and wants to abort the baby himself. I mean, there's terrible reasons.
It gives them an option for help, which I am for.
It gives them an option for help, and it teaches them either how to take care of the child while the child is in the womb, and to be healthy and keep the baby healthy. And then it helps them to decide, is it time to give them up for adoption, or am I going to be successful and I'm going to learn how to get my GED accomplished while I'm being a young mother?
Right.
Is there a way for me to get an apartment and to get a part-time job while I'm a young mother? It equips these women, and it gives them the real option.
Which I think is a great thing.
It's phenomenal, and that's what we should have more of. And I know that
don't have a problem with that.
No, and I think more, if you're going to have government funding go into places like Planned Parenthood, why can't it then also get
I agree.
Send government funding to places like Living Grace Homes?
I completely agree with that.
Or like First Choice
Pregnancy. And I know it sounds bad. I agree. And I know it sounds. Hang on one second. I just wanted to make one quick point here. I know it sounds horrible to say this. And I know when I use the term option, people like you might consider it murdering a child, an abortion.
But it is an option.
Okay, but it is an option.
Sure.
I am for giving people options. Now, if you don't have the means and you're thinking about having an abortion and that organization that you just talked about, I am all for that. Just as I am for a young girl who can't even afford an abortion.
But
same
I think,
deal.
Unfortunately, in this day and age, not many know about places like Living Grace Homes. They know that abortion is an option, but
I didn't
they
know
don't
about it. Yeah.
See, but they don't know that there's an actual other option. There's another option,
and that's important.
That helps educate and helps the mother to be healthy and to grow. Overall,
and that's important.
As a successful,
and I'm all for getting the word out there for that because I think that's great. Go ahead.
I'm
Jay.
curious about the metrics on the voting when it comes to government assistance. People that are on government assistance or on welfare. Where do they vote? Which way do they vote, percentage-wise?
I don't know that answer.
I don't either.
But I do know that a majority of,
because if it's 80% Democratic, then you could even argue that it's technically buying votes. It's purchasing votes, and it's creating a vicious cycle.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question.
And there are a number of those facilities that are actually strategically placed in lower socioeconomic areas.
So, Amy, I want to talk a little about the media with you. We only got about 10 more minutes left here, and I know you got to get going. So and we appreciate you staying. You make a lot of appearances on MSNBC, right? We all could agree that
every Sunday I'm on a panel with Alex Witt.
Yeah, and you do a great job.
Thank you.
I watch it when I can, and we all would agree that for the most part, MSNBC leans way to the left.
Oh yeah.
Fox News leans way to the right, and CNN
Some of their shows, I would say they're getting a little bit more middle of the road now.
Listen, I respect Brett Baer. I think Wallace does a fantastic job on Fox News. And who am I? And Shepard Smith. I think he does a fair job as well. I think Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham. I mean, look, Sean Hannity does a good radio show.
You have your news anchors,
right? And then the opinion.
And then you
people.
have your opinion pundits.
So let me ask you about Laura Ingraham real quick.
I've never been on with her
because I think she's just a bad person. Okay, let me explain to you.
Why?
She tells. She says about LeBron James. She says, "Shut up and dribble." Okay. Who's the rapper who just died? I forgot his name.
His name's Nipsey Hussle.
See, that's why I have a co-host here. He keeps me on my feet. So Nipsey Hussle dies, brutally murdered. This is a man who has done a lot of great things for his community. Okay, and a week after he dies, she didn't even know who Nipsey Hussle was. I guarantee you. A week after he dies, she decides to play some of his lyrics and attack him because he was anti-Trump. Okay, idiotic. She has athletes and celebrities that are on the right that are on her show all the time. Kurt Schilling used to come on her show all the time, pitcher. She never said, shut up and pitch, shut up and throw the ball. But when it comes to LeBron James, an African-American, yeah, I believe Laura Ingraham is a racist. I do. I think she hides behind.
She's a racist?
I do.
I can't stick up for her because I don't know her. I've never met her. I don't know her.
Well, think about what I just said. Laura, she goes after Nipsey Hussle for his lyrics.
To be honest, I didn't know who Nipsey Hussle was unless I asked my 15-year-old daughter.
No, I understand. And
I know
fair.
who he is now, but I didn't know who he was until he passed away.
Full disclosure.
And he was a very impressive.
I looked him up and actually
hip hop artist.
Yes,
and almost every major African American athlete. He was actually really close with Stephen Curry, all the Golden State Warriors.
And she decides to attack his lyrics.
That probably wasn't smart.
A week after.
He was revered
no, not at all.
by African American athletes.
He was.
I don't know if she's a racist, but
either she's a racist.
It wasn't
I'll
kind.
give you another example.
It just wasn't kind.
or her advisors are just awful.
Well, I'll give you another example. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. We're talking about immigration and the situation where these kids were in cages. Okay, and Obama's administration did the same thing. I'm not defending Obama, so let's not go there. But she compared some of these cages with kids without their parents. She called them summer camps. Okay, that is an idiotic thing to say. Number one, they're without their parents. Number two, they're locked in cages. Okay, they're not free to do anything.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Well, I'm just
I can't defend her. I don't.
I'm just telling you why.
I don't know her. I don't have an opinion on her.
I'm just telling you why I think she's a horrific human being.
Okay.
I don't agree with Sean Hannity with a lot of what he says, but I think he's a good dude. I have stories of him coming to Las Vegas where he tips the bill. Like if your bill's $150, he tips on her. He seems to be a good dude. I just disagree with his politics. Mark Levin came on the show. We follow Mark Levin 3 to 6. I respect Mark Levin a lot. He's an extremely intelligent person, right?
Yeah, I really enjoy listening.
But just like there are some people on the left, like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, who I both think are racist, race baiters. Okay,
I've been on his show.
Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton, yeah.
What do you think about Al Sharpton?
You know what? I diffused the conversation before the show even started because he was a fan of my father-in-law's.
Oh, that's
tough.
Yeah, that's tough.
So when we were in the makeup room together, we immediately,
Al Sharpton puts on makeup.
we immediately started the discussion, with me thanking him for having me on.
That's nice.
Because I was actually in studio in 30 Rock. And then I said, oh, well, my father-in-law was Coach Jerry Tarkanian, and his face lit up. And so immediately it diffused any.
That's a good thing. That's a nice story.
Antagonistic
and
possible
I'm not trying to put you in an awkward spot here because I know you're on MSNBC all the time, but I'm not a huge Rachel Maddow fan. And the reason why I'm not is because I don't think her show's very good.
There are a couple of shows that I do not go on anymore because I refuse to be a pinata.
Yeah.
And they find it humorous to try to do gotcha.
Does Rachel, you feel like Rachel Maddow's one of those people?
I've never been on with Rachel.
So who do you think would do, what are the shows that you just don't want to be on MSNBC?
I do not enjoy Joy Reid.
Yeah.
She
made those really
nice.
What were those weird remarks that she made, and then she lied and said it wasn't her?
Yeah.
What were those about? She's anti-gay, right?
She's done a few questionable things. But,
that's beyond. I don't blame you.
Just overall, she's not a very good listener, and she's very antagonistic, and she's mean.
Sounds like me.
No, she's mean. She's really mean.
Well,
Alex
I'm not a fan
Witt,
of hers
I
either.
enjoy.
Yeah.
Alex is very level-headed. I mean, it's 3-1. It's usually me, a former Obama advisor, and a former Hillary comms director, and then of course Alex. And Alex is very good at moving the conversation. Oh, none of us name call. None of us overtalk. Very respectful. I enjoy going on her show.
That's good. So here's what I do.
And I also enjoy going on with him, Candace Gibson. He's fairly new, so I go on with him on Saturdays.
He's been there. He hasn't been there that long.
No, not too long. Super nice guy.
So here's what I do to try to get both sides of the story. I'll put on CNN for a little while, whether that's Anderson Cooper or whoever it is throughout the day. JD's not a big fan. But I'll put on CNN for a little while, and then I'll put on Fox News because I want to hear opposite ends of the spectrum. It's very difficult to find.
That's important to do.
Yes, I do that every day.
I like to watch CNN because Chris Cuomo's face is so close to the TV. You can actually see up his nose into his nose hairs. I've counted his nose hairs probably 10 times.
But anyway, that's what I do. I find those two networks, one on one side, one on the other side, and I like to hear both sides of the argument. Some people are more biased than others. I'm not a big fan of Tucker Carlson at all. I never liked Tucker. No, because
I really like Tucker.
Well, the Michael Avenatti interview to me is a perfect example of why I don't like him. Say what you want about Michael Avenatti, okay?
I missed that interview then. I didn't see it.
Talking over people, not allowing people, a guest. I'm not talking about a caller. I talk over callers all the time.
Right.
But I'm talking about a guest. He invites guests on, and if he disagrees with them, he talks over them, pounces over them. And those comments he made, and I know that was 7-8 years ago, but it was still on a radio show with Bubba the Love Sponge. He made some horrible misogynistic comments.
Bubba the Love Sponge?
Yes.
What is that?
He was on a show about 7 or 8 years ago where he made some racist remarks and misogynistic comments, and I think that speaks volumes about somebody. If you're going to say something like that on the air, whether it's satellite radio or whatever, imagine the things he says when he's off the air or behind closed doors.
I don't know.
think that's character.
I've been with him behind closed doors, and we've watched him in action, and we've spent time with him. I think
nice guy.
Oh, he's phenomenal, and he's hilarious.
He's a nice guy.
He's a super nice guy.
So why is it that he's
a bit of a showman then, Brian?
Yeah. So why
he's
is
a
it
super nice guy?
So why is it then that he's not a nice guy on TV? Is he a faker?
Really, you don't think he's?
Not at all.
I don't know. I disagree. I enjoy watching.
I watched the Avenatti interview, and that was pretty terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
I missed that.
He wasn't just impolite, but he also was uninformed.
Look, and don't get me wrong.
He had no idea what he was talking about.
I get it. Some people are like that. Howard Stern is a very quiet, depressed man most of his life, and then when he gets on the radio, he's a completely different guy. So I'm not going to fault him for that, but I
don't know. I mean, even behind closed doors, he's still pretty. What would you say? Like jovial and vibrant. I mean, he's. How sometimes he kind of, I don't want to say he yells when he talks, but, he's kind of loud when he talks, and he's got
that stupid laugh, but that's okay. No, is there anyone, you've met a lot of these people, right? Have you had any bad experiences on a TV network where somebody invited you on and they were just a complete jerk, besides me?
Joy Reid.
So what happened?
Well, it was also the panel, I would say. The panel, it was just very antagonistic, and it was set up to be that way, so that way they could make headlines.
So what was there, like
Trump
3 Democrats
person.
and then just you?
Right.
See, I
and
don't
that's
like
happened
that.
before. Well, even when there's been people who have filled in for Alex. Not too long ago, there was a lady who filled in for her, and I know it ended up being a setup because she added a 4th panelist without any of us knowing that there was going to be a 4th panelist. And this 4th panelist was a Trump-hating New York Times opinion writer who was very chauvinistic, very rude, but the two of them, the host and he, I think already had some type of deal going on because
that's not right.
No, and they both came at me from either end. And she did not interject when he went so far as to call me a racist on national television.
What could you have possibly said for them to call you that? Because I don't see that with you at all.
No, and quite honestly, he wasn't there to listen to me at all. His whole point was to come on the air and then catapult himself in the process and have articles ready to go that he had, in fact, called this Trump mouthpiece a racist.
Well,
and how dare she?
I would never say that about you And I would never say that about your husband either. I disagree with your husband on a lot of issues, but I would never say that about both of you. You're entitled to your opinions. You've done a lot of good things in this city.
Thanks.
And I think that's extremely unfair. But obviously, the majority of the appearances you've made, they've been very respectful, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. I would say 90% of them.
Well, I applaud you for going on MSNBC. And what I tell Republicans, and I tell Democrats, and I think people that are like Pete Buttigieg, who went on Fox News and got a standing ovation.
Yeah, I
right?
thought
Like
that
Bernie
was great.
Sanders. I think Republicans should do the same thing. They should go on CNN more often. They should go on MSNBC more often because it's good banter. And I think it puts somebody in a situation where, they're going to have to defend what they believe in.
Well, and quite honestly, if you're not willing to talk to everybody and you're just going to talk to your bubble and
Trump
your
won't
base, then you should not be running.
Trump won't talk to CNN anymore. Won't talk to MSNBC anymore.
Well, that's because he's sick and tired of them twisting things around.
Do you think the media is the enemy of the people?
I think they have a lot of power, and there are some who misuse it. Do I think they're the enemy overall? No. But are there people out there who misuse it? Yes.
Well, everyone has an agenda. I agree with that. I think there's people that misuse it probably on CNN, same as they would in Fox News. I think it happens both ways. I really do. And
it just
I do.
Seems to happen more so in some stations than others.
And social media has given individuals as much power as open media used to have 10 or 20 years ago.
But unfortunately, it's about ratings, and it's about money, and it's about listenership, viewers. And
absolutely. And I will tell you, even locally, there was a show that I used to appear on or used to be on.
Can I guess what show it was?
No.
Republican or Democrat?
No, it was
it's a Republican.
It was both. No, okay.
Alan and Heidi, I know exactly what you're talking about. Go ahead.
No. It was the show that I used to be on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was me and Rory Reed.
Oh, how many years ago was this?
Oh,
it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
But either way, so the two of us, it's expected that a Tarkanian and Reed don't get along at all, but Rory and I did. And it would upset the producers to no end because they would come in with their topics, or they would say, "Hey, what are the topics that you'd like to discuss?" And we'd go over them. They go, "Well, but you both agreed on this one,
right?
You have to disagree. This is terrible television.
That's bad."
And we're like, "But we just want to have a discussion." They're like, "No, you can't have a discussion.
Well, that's ridiculous. It has to be genuine."
And then if we wouldn't get hot with each other, then in the ear we'd get, "You guys, you have to step it up. What are you here? You have to take it at another angle." And we're like,
"Well, then come up with subjects."
That's because they're trying to appease sponsors.
Then come up with subjects that you're going to disagree on.
And then we would try. But
it's ridiculous.
There were just moments though where it's like, but why can't we agree on this one?
That's kind of stupid.
We would drive them crazy.
You should have just said something wacky. Like, I go with my husband to the strip club every day, and then just get into an argument about that. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
Well, I'm also really close friends with Erin Bilbray, who was the Democrat National Committee woman for 8 years.
I can see how you can be friends with many Democrats because you're easy to talk to, right?
Well,
You're easy to talk to. I mean, look, we agree on most of the stuff we talked about today when it comes to Trump and some of the disrespectful things he does. I understand a little better why you support him. We're never going to agree on abortion, and that's fine. But we do agree on some things when it comes to abortion, which is better than nothing.
Yeah. Well, and quite honestly, getting back to Erin, I mean, Erin and I are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to abortion. We just know not to talk about it.
Right.
If we're going to go and have lunch, we know which topics we just don't
bring
discuss.
it up.
Plain and simple.
Let me tell you, Amy,
even with stuff dealing with the school district, she has 2 daughters. I have 4 kids. I have 3 daughters and a son, and we have our 2 oldest go to the same school. So we both have concerns about our children and their education. It's just sometimes we have different ways of getting it accomplished. So we can show up to school board meetings. It's hysterical. We will hug each other.
That's cool.
Everyone will see.
That's important.
Then she'll go to her area and sit. I'll go to my area and sit. And then we both approach the mics, say our piece, hug each other, and then everyone's like, What did we just see?
And
what the heck did we just witness?
And you know what? I can appreciate that because I can't even tell you how many people I talk to on a regular basis when I'm off the air that want to talk to me about politics, and I say, I don't want to. Do I ask you to talk about your job?
Right.
I don't want to talk about politics.
There's more to life.
Yeah,
people.
This is my time to talk about politics.
Politics is important, but it's not everything.
I have some friends that won't shut up when it comes to. I'm like, dude, I just space out. I'm not even listening. It's so annoying. Well, listen. I really appreciate you coming in. I hope you had a good time.
I did.
I hope I'm not as bad as Joy Reid. Okay, I hope I'm not as bad as her.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you're not.
No, seriously, I appreciate you coming in. It's been a fun discussion. I think more people need to have discussions like this, and I hope you'll come in again soon.
Sure,
yeah,
I would love to.
I really had a great time. Well, thank you so
thank
much,
you.
Amy. I appreciate your time. And coming up next, we'll be talking to Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. Stay tuned after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.